Wake up, babe. It's time for you to ignore Phyrexian Dreadnought's trigger or otherwise get around it so you can kill your opponent in 2 turns. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we are going to be playing sort of a strange variant of Stiflenought. So very briefly, our goal for today is to stifle or otherwise stop Phyrexian Dreadnought's triggered ability from happening so that we can have a 12-12 that quickly kills our opponent while backed up with some sort of counterspell or other disruption. And this is not really a premier Legacy strategy, but it is powerful. It just requires some moving parts to go well and often doesn't do well versus exile-based removal. And Plum Wizards sent me kind of an interesting deck list, and I've done some tuning up after talking with some people, so let's kind of jump into deck list 1 here as I was sent it. So this is the original deck list, and I want to kind of talk about with what I thought was a fundamental problem with the list that made me want to tune it, which was something the donor asked for anyway. So, in order to get a Phyrexian Dreadnought into play, you can 1. Stifle the trigger so that it never happens. 2. Do something like play an end of turn Dress Down, and then just cast it so its trigger never happens. 3. You can copy it with its trigger on the stack with the Mycosynth Gardens. Or 4. You can make a copy of it after intentionally letting it go to the graveyard or discarding it with Likeness Looter. Or 5, 6, whatever number we're on, you can do the same thing, but with Lazav, the Multifarious. So when I saw this, my first thought was like, whoa, we're trying to do just too many things with this Dreadnought here. I think we've got to cut back on some of this. Because when you look at the plan B of the deck, the plan B isn't like super great. The plan B, in theory, is reanimate with Troll of Khazad-dûm, which is a critical part of Legacy. But the deck didn't have room for the Griefs in the main deck, and it didn't even have room for a full playset of the Trolls. And this probably means that the Death Shadows that were in the deck to be plan B also are going to be a little bit awkward, because you're not going to be like the most consistent at lowering your life total. So I thought this deck was too dedicated to Phyrexian Dreadnought, not dedicated enough to its plan B, and the result was probably going to be a mana base that largely damages us for minimal upside. And Likeness Looter was one of the things that the donor really wanted to see, so that needs to stay in the final deck. We're going to end up removing the Death Shadow, which is going to make the Likeness Looter slightly worse than usual, but I'll explain what we're going to do with it instead as we look at deck list number 2 here. So this is what I came up with after getting quite a bit of feedback from people. So I thought Death Shadow and the Troll were sort of awkward and took up a whole lot of slots, so I have condensed those slots to Murktide Regent. We are just going to play a powerful, mana-efficient threat that also just works really well with our Dazes, Force of Wills, and Stifles in sort of a tempo plan. And although our Likeness Looter is now only going to have Phyrexian Dreadnought to copy, for the most part, like technically you could get to 7 mana sources, but like, the looting ability is still real to fuel a Murktide Regent, and also there's a lot of situational cards in this deck list that often aren't going to be good, and there's only so many copies of Brainstorm that they let you play in Legacy, so having another ability to loot seems reasonable. The Phyrexian Dreadnought is still going to be the core of this deck, but I think 4x Stifle, 4x Dress Down, 3x Likeness Looter is enough to fully support that card as a 12-12 finisher. And we're going to play a couple of Urza's Sagas so that we can tutor it up. And that is going to be kind of important for cards like this. Conceptually, I took like a blue-black scam mana base and removed the 4 wastelands for 3 Urza's Saga and kind of fit in, I think it was like an additional fetch land or something like that, and maybe more basics than normal. And then the sideboard is kind of unexciting. It's mostly normal blue-black legacy cards for the most part. So yeah, we'll kind of see how this performs today. There's some non-bows in the deck list that may end up coming up. So for example, Dress Down notably kills Urza Saga Construct tokens. But I think the ability to tutor up that Dreadnought and set up for a reasonable 12/12 is enough that, like, I am willing to just accept that. I don't really plan on making Urza Saga Construct tokens for the most part with this deck. Like, situations can get weird, and I might need to do that. But, like, you'll notice there's not a full Urza Saga package here. This is just a slow tutor for a Dreadnought. So yeah, if you end up wanting to play this one, check out the link in the video's description to moxfield.com. And if you need to buy any cards to try this one out at your local event, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your next order. Let's battle. Today's video is sponsored by All Trades Media LLC, and they make just absolutely beautiful tokens in both foil and non-foil. And if you take a look at this up here, this is one of their test prints of a new token type that they're making. There's only 30 of these in existence right now, and I'm going to be giving one of these away on my Twitter today. So down in the video description, I will have linked both my Twitter and their shop. Check out both for a chance to win or buy some really cool tokens and support my content. All right, I'm looking at a pretty reasonable opening hand here. I can do an end of turn Dress Down if I would like into a Phyrexian Dreadnought. We'll see what we're playing against. Okay. Oh, I don't like it. Basically is where I'm at. I think I need to take this fucking Pernicious Deed. I think this card is just going to be unbeatable later on. It's going to also blow up my Urza Saga lands. God, this is gonna... Alright, this is gonna be a gross game. Buckle the fuck up. This is gonna be maybe not a go to time round, but we're gonna fucking be here for a while, folks. So my plan has fully shifted to make Urza Saga construct tokens just immediately, if possible. Although my opponent might end up using Assassin's Trophy on my lands. Ah, damn, they naturally hit that second land drop. That's so good. I imagine we're going to see single fetch Brainstorm. Oh, no. They are going to go for the trophy. That's fine. I'm not going to cast this Dress Down now or anything. Yeah. All right. Let's pick up a basic island. I think I'm going to do this now, since I kind of awkwardly got interrupted. Dismember's not the best. I think I'll ponder. My opponent just like untaps and snuffs out this. They don't need to force or anything. I'm just gonna shuffle these. Alright. We're gonna play Saga and drop the Dreadnought. Dress Down goes away. Yeah, see? So, like, opponent does not fight over this Dreadnought while the Daze was active. Now we're seeing the Brainstorm. I think I'm looking for, like, more Murktide Regent-esque cards. Oof. A shame I could have gotten away with the Daze. Opponent's Brainstorm locked. Sure. Slightly awkward situation in regards to, like, tutoring up another Dreadnought. I have to decide whether or not I want to cast this Dress Down. I probably trade with Force if I do that, but then I just, like, give up the value. I think I'm just gonna make some tokens and extract my maximum value. Kind of like brainstorming here to shuffle. They don't really want this land. I don't really want this Dismember. Huh. Plan has changed. Plan has changed. I will cast a Dress Down, killing my own construct token. That's fine. I redraw one of those lands, unfortunately. then I get this in play. I get to then cast a second one with the ability to back it up with a counter spell. I'll just daze that one. Bounce this. We'll save the Force of Will for later. Alright. Force of Will is gone. I'll make this land drop. Probably end up losing this Dreadnought to Snuff Out. My opponent put it 2 down. Yeah. With the Brainstorm, like, there's a chance that I can untap and draw another blue card. But that did not happen. Ha ha! Hell yeah. I think I just jam that. Like, there's no... Okay, no, there is activate as a sorcery. So I do need to do it now. Alright, we've got a 12/12. Fuck yeah. We're gaming. We're gaming, folks. Unfortunately, my opponent's deck is a pile of removal from hell. So, there is that. Brazen Borrower's okay. Like, it's a threat. We'll take it. Alright, there's third land drop. Yes, that may resolve. Then end of turn, I'll bounce that to hand. And recast this threat. Ooh, yeah, okay. Send them. Opponent's at 10. I think I'm just jamming things here. We don't get maximum value. But I think that's fine. This is just literally 10 damage next turn. More realistically, it's 3 damage. Nice. That was a good first showing, but I don't know that we win that one without my opponent stumbling. Like, their pile O cards is fucking scary. Stifle on Pernicious Deed is a thing. I don't know that I'm going to sideboard much. My dazes are a little rough on the draw. Fluster is pretty generically okay. I'm also not the biggest fan of 2-for-1ing myself when my opponent just like has so many removal spells. But some things like Deed might just be so disastrous that I just kind of have to accept that. I'm kind of looking at these, and maybe I need something like this. Let's try 3 days out for these other counter spells. I'd say this is kind of a mid-opening hand in terms of like the resources that are available to me right now, but it just has good flexibility. I don't even think I Thoughtseize immediately. I think I leave up spells and just pass the turn. Attempting to get a land with Stifle. That's cool. I don't think we're starting that yet. I think I just want to go bam. Underground Sea. Thoughtseize you. Hopefully not get like Veil of Summered, which I think is a reasonable card for this deck to be playing. Okay. The Assassin's Trophy stops the Urza Saga, which is currently my best card. I probably take that. But taking the Brainstorm is pretty tempting. I don't know, Assassin's Trophy is just really good against most of the stuff my deck can do. Okay, no immediate Brainstorm. Sure. Just get in there again with the Thoughtseize. That's probably fine. There's a Brainstorm in response. I could fluster that, but I think I'm just going to let it go. That stuff's good. Might need to start going after these Lorien Revealeds. Because, like, we will reach the point of the game where those are just real cards. Yeah, I think I'm going to take one of those out. I don't think I want to put up with 2 of those. Alright, I'm fine with just stifling that land. My opponent can then, like, shuffle with the other one, or shuffle with this. But I think that is just an expenditure of resources that I am willing to make. And then we've got, like, these lining up versus Urza Saga tokens in a way that's fine with me. I kind of want to greed and Brainstorm for a land drop here, which is maybe unadvised, but my hand is just, like, ever so slightly awkward currently. Alright, a Dismember can go, a Dress Down can go, and we'll go ahead and grab another Underground Sea. We're not expecting like back to basics or anything based on what I'm seeing here. Okay, good. We have successfully turned that into a land drop rather than a draw 3. I'm happy with that. All right, so we're just making land drops. I'll make constructs. Force of Negation's an interesting draw. I think like before, I'm just going to brainstorm in response to this to get a shuffle. I don't intend on pivoting this time. I think I'm going to send back a Dress Down and a land. Make another one of these. And I'm going to send a Phyrexian Dreadnought to my graveyard so that Likeness Looter is on. Drop a land. And casually start crashing in there. Opponent's at 16. No spell my end of turn. No spells, only land drops. Okay. We're good with this. I'm going to play this just as a colorless mana source pre-combat. The old blood price, or not the blood price, rather, for Snuff Out. I'm just okay trading 1 for 1 here. It is unexciting. But my soft counters are just going to get worse and worse as this game goes on. I am fine using them. Brainstorm, turn this Dress Down into something else. Probably end up Force of Negationing. Stifle. So that's gone. I don't want this land. That always goes back. I can Force of Negation protect this current construct token, or I can let that one go and Thoughtseize to take another removal spell while still having Force of Negation up on my opponent's turn for something weird. I think I kind of like casting Thoughtseize, but like these things hit increasingly harder. Regardless, we're going to get rid of the Stifle. And I'll fetch an Underground Sea. I'm going to keep my board. I think this game has become this Urza Saga. And the next turn I can cast Thoughtseize while activating this. And it's just awkward if exactly Pernicious Deed is in my opponent's hand and I don't Thoughtseize it. Or I guess a similar effect, like other things do exist. Damn it. Alright, we got. So, let's see what's left over there. All the removal. We'll take Shoulder's Edict and leave them with Fatal Push. Then pass the turn. Oh, that's bad. I can Dress Down so they can keep their immediate 6/6. Not gonna do that. That's pretty cool. We'll drop that. We know one of my opponent's cards is Fatal Push. If my opponent casts an Uro, I can cast Dress Down in response. Ah, damn it. That's rough. Alright. That occurs. And the perfects to cast the Uro as well. Yeah, the last 2 turn cycles have just been worst case scenarios of they did have Deed, they did have a removal spell that answers Murktide Regent off the top, and the other land as their 2 unknown draws. Okay, I mean, that technically helps versus the Uro, but doesn't exactly feel good. Okay. Thoughtseize, Stifle, Brainstorm, then I run out of goodies. Alright, so we'll do this. When do I Brazen Borrower? Do I just do it now? Force my opponent to do the 3 mana into it, or do I see if they attack first? I think I do it now. Not exactly a feel-good situation, though. Like, bouncing Uro is not the way that you want to deal with Uro. We're not quite going to be on a 2-turn clock here, because my opponent's life gain here and the following turn are going to, like, swiftly put this into 3-turn clock category. I'm also at 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. F. Multiple Pernicious Deeds in this deck. That's the 7th mana for just killing this. Damn. And now I'm gonna like start drawing situational cards like Stifle that I don't quite have the perfect timing on to just like hit this and win me the game on the spot. Alright. This Wasteland also means my Urza Saga's not going to be great. And I don't have very many answers to a resolved Uro, right? Brazen Borrower also doesn't get to clock. I think I need a Brainstorm. Kind of where I think I'm at. Oops, all Murktide Regents. I don't really mind. I'm going to lose this Dress Down. Then I'll go ahead and fetch. Grab some land. Cast Fatal Push Fodder. That seems aggressive. Sure. Alright, Fatal Push gone. It's not what I need here. Play one of these. I'm going to put a creature into play. I guess if I get Enduranced, I would not like all these fetch lands in my deck. Let's go ahead and junk those. I'm down a considerable amount on clock. It's also possible that I should just concede the game here and save some of my clock. I think this one has slipped away. I think if I draw a dead card... yeah. Tried dodging that earlier and was not successful. Or, like, I was successful in the short term, but, like, now my opponent has done a draw 3 in their... Okay, I see. So they just had Life from the Loam previously, so that's why aggressively wastelanding works. Alright. Sure. I think I am just gonna save my time here and go to the next game. So I need a plan for Uro. I might need to play a couple things that look like this or this. I'm gonna go down a Dress Down and a Daze to play 2 of these in some combination. I think I'm going for the Surgicals. What if I play Urza Saga on 1? Thoughtseize on 2? Stifle Dreadnought on 3 with Force of Will and Thoughtseize? Is that enough? It's a real plan. I don't know if it's a good enough plan, but it's a real plan. It just feels so hard for me to win this matchup. Like, I know we got there in game 1, but that was because my opponent stumbled on mana. Like, they are just so good at murdering everything. Fuck, that's so mean. Well, you know what they say. Okay, first you don't succeed. Urza's Saga again and again. Alright, good stuff. And again. Now we will go ahead and attempt the Thoughtseize. Life from the Loam. Is that what I'm taking? No. I probably take the Force of Will so that my Stifle doesn't get messed with. Then I Force of Will whatever removal spell they find off Brainstorm. Alright. Wasteland plus Life from the Loam is going to beat me long term, though. That is just something I am not particularly good at beating here. The hope is that I draw a blue card so that I have double Force of Will protecting one 12/12 threat. About the worst card for me would be Assassin's Trophy. Alright, it is the Life from the Loam. I just let that happen. Alright, so float a mana. Did not draw a blue card, by the way. Get a Dreadnought. Stifle that ability. Force my opponent to wasteland me? Nah, I think I want to Brainstorm next turn. A good portion of the time. I don't know. Maybe I'm supposed to force them to wasteland. They might just wasteland me anyway. It's just, like, weird. Because if the top card of my library is another blue card, I want to keep this. The only way that I win may be the top of my library being another blue card. I think this is a just horrendous matchup. Sure. And with Wasteland Life from the Loam right around the corner, it becomes very hard for me to do something like the backup Murktide Regent plan. Damn it. Okay. Yeah, that's a disaster. So then I get wastelanded off of this. And I think I'm pretty much ready to concede. Like, my opponent has played this match very well, and I also think it's unfavorable for me. I would have had another blue card if I got another turn, but I I don't think I can realistically win through the Wasteland lock here and the pile of removal that my opponent just generally has. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Just the best place to host your deck lists online, just full period. It is. And I can say lots of nice things about them, or I can just show you that I have 328 deck lists on this site, and I think that's about the best endorsement that I can give them. We're looking at no mana sources in this opening hand. That is an auto mulligan. Yeah, we have a Dress Down into a Phyrexian Dreadnought with this second hand. Thinking about which one of these I want to throw back. I think I'm going to throw back another Brainstorm here. That way, I just have a little bit more flexibility in actually using Dress Down as a spell. Should I need to do that to shut off like an Orcish Bowmasters or something? Sure. I'd love to... There we go. Find a counterspell. Mission success. And we'll see what my opponent's doing end of turn. Troll Cycle is maybe reasonable. Close. I'm just going to assume that I need to counter that card. And not let my opponent put something in graveyard. Alright, so we're probably playing against the Rihanna. It's kind of a shame that I didn't pitch the Brainstorm to Force of Will. Anyway, we are probably playing against the like Reanimator deck that has a Scam Package and Urza's Saga as well. Alright. We've got Dazes now. I think I am fine firing this off immediately. I think I'm going to bury a Daze, redraw a Dreadnought, and then try to find a way to put that Dreadnought into play. I have my opponent on a 2-turn clock, and this tramples, so like Urza Saga chump blockers aren't the biggest deal in the world. Do I care? Kinda care. That just makes these cards worse. It makes setting up the second Dreadnought noticeably harder. I'm gonna say that I care. The Saga gets to tick up. Ooh, we're going places. Sheldred has Death Touch, that's annoying. That also wouldn't have gotten got by Daze. Sure. Wasn't that the best for me? I'm gonna lose some life. I think I attack and trade and then try to set up a second Dreadnought. I don't have that many outs to this while it's in play. I think I just kind of accept that Dreadnought number 1 does not get to go the distance here. Yep. So we put my opponent in range of a Brainstorm first and then Ponder Shuffle. I probably Brainstorm first, Ponder Shuffle. Damn it! Dismember! I answered the Sheldred this turn. Finding that would have required casting a cantrip into the Sheldred, though. And I want to Brainstorm first to be able to Ponder Shuffle. Let's go Daze back. Let's go an Island back. And we're Ponder Shuffling most of the time here. Okay, nice. We found a way to get the other Dreadnought into play. Kind of see how my opponent uses their resources for this turn. Alright, they went in the tank for a minute and then ultimately decided to make the token. And just find another currency converter. This is all fine. A Thoughtseize would be pretty rough for me here. But it's just a fetch around a Stifle instead. Sure. That gives me a little extra flexibility here. So we go bam. Stifle the sad making trigger. Pass the turn. Then we've got Dismember to take this construct token or another blocker out of the way. Gonna let that happen. So that represents an immediate 2-2. My opponent did not make the immediate 2-2, which is weird. Because they can put it under a different currency converter than the one they tapped to loot. Animate Dead on a Sheldred is fine. Like, it's actively quite good. But this is why I didn't blow the Dismember immediately on the construct token. I don't think I want to use the fetch land yet. I think I'm just going to use a mana on my own turn. I am fine with losing the 2 life. So my goal here is attack, have my opponent block with just Sheldred, dismember Sholdred to kill it, and then my opponent is dead. Okay, so they're going to force my hand a little early. I think I will now do this. Underground Sea. But I can't let my opponent gain this life here. A Bloodstained Mire, so that can represent a treasure token. So now they're going to go ahead and make a 2/2. See how much life they're going to save here. Yeah, that's fine. I get to deal them 7 and put them to Thor, which means reanimate on Sholdred is not a thing anymore. Hard casting a Sholdred isn't a thing. This Daze is pretty good if my opponent has to just like activate this looking for something like an Animate Dead, and then I get to just like snag the Animate Dead. Reanimate on Bowmasters doesn't save them. Alright, we get there. So, deck's kind of weird boarding against, in that like this plus these plus this are things that could attack different aspects of the deck. So I think I start in the main deck and figure out what I am not liking from the main deck and go from there. Actively like Dismember, actively like Dress Down. Daze is weird. Sometimes it's going to be just absolutely batshit insane though. I mostly have to decide whether or not this is a Force of Will matchup, and my opponent's awkward mid-range elements make that weird. Like if I want to beat my opponent's beatdown side of the deck with just like the anti-blue cards, then boarding in more removal makes sense. But if I want to further respect the reanimation side, Force of Wills matter a lot. And this is just a new enough deck that I don't have a lot of reps to know for sure. I think I'm going to go counter spells down and play a game that's better versus the board, I think. Maybe I keep a couple of forces. Boarding in a lot of black here. I'm going to try this when I'm on the draw and just like respect the creature-based plan a lot. I don't have the best feel for what that deck's sideboard plan truly is yet. This is reasonable. I wouldn't say good, but it's reasonable. Yeah, my opponent does. Thoughtseize is fine. My Ponder is kind of my best card here. It helps me hit land drop 2. But Thoughtseize is also a reasonable take, in my opinion. Okay, yeah, let's go find land drop 2. I don't need black mana immediately. I think this is just a basic island. No, this is not land drop 2. That is land drop 2. So I get to do like end of turn dress down into Dreadnought. That's not the best. This is kind of the problem with playing against this deck, is that sometimes it will just do that. And since my opponent was on the play, my dress down doesn't have the opportunity to stop this trigger. If that trigger doesn't happen, I can play a perfectly reasonable game of Magic versus this. This sampling of cards is very much like combo oriented, but these are all like game 1 things. Yeah, there's Dalthy Voidwalker in there. Okay. Likeness Looter is cool if my opponent takes the Dreadnought. But I think I've just lost this one. Alright, I did lose the Dreadnought. We're going in deeper with a Dark Ritual. And then reanimating. They can now take the Likeness Looter if they'd like. But I can't get my own Dreadnought and a Thoughtseize. They're at 3. It probably doesn't matter because like Atraxa is about to gain them 7. Alright. I'm in bad shape. I'm gonna pretend that we're still in this game. Ugh. So I think the way that I pretend to be in this game is by blocking the lifelink here and then hitting kind of like the perfects to find a way to deal 3 damage through that Atraxa. But it's rough. Alright. Now that land's not gonna do it. And the redraw of Dress Down isn't enough. Just like this plus this is just lethal, and Dreadnought can't actually block that one either, for that matter. Alright, when I am on the play, my dazes become better. Sometimes they're not enough versus like certain Dark Ritual based lines. I still think I need to respect the fair stuff like the Doughty Voidwalkers and friends. Maybe I don't overly respect Currency Converter itself. What if I don't likeness Looter? And I use that to keep more reactive cards in the deck? That seems okay. Like, I'm bringing in Plague Engineers in that spot. No land? Okay. I think I keep this one, pitch the Force of Will, and hope that I can stifle my opponent's lands out of this game. And I make it so that I only have to find a Dreadnought 2 combo, assuming that I use both stifles on fetch lands. Just fetch, just fetch, just fetch. Yes! Alright, one down. Nice. I think I will preemptively ponder. Those are weird. Urza Saga is okay. That's kind of like a Dreadnought, but I want to leave up Stifle mana right now, and like forever. I don't think I take this. We just pass turn here. Alright, now I can't celebrate yet, because my opponent might discard a fatty right now, just to hand size. A Hogak. Sure. Do I Thoughtseize my opponent who is discarding to hand size? Feels like no. Like, I'm not advancing my own plan, which is like not the best, but hopefully this ends up being fine. That means I can at least reasonably fire one of those off in my opponent's end step. Not anymore. Now I just wait till I can stifle that land. New land drop. Now I Thoughtseize. One reanimate effect. One Thoughtseize effect. I just take the reanimate effect here. Alright. Got it. And my opponent will fetch end of turn to try to do the troll thing, and I'll stifle that land. Got him! So grab C, stifle that. And now I can like tap out for Plague Engineer if I need to. This is fine. We'll just drop this on Orc for Bowmasters. And now we have a clock in play. It's not a good one. It's not the, 12-12 of our dreams or anything. Yeah, you can grief me. Like, I lose the Force of Will. Like, it's fine. Brazenbauer was really effing good. That just helps me with a random, like, reanimate, spiking a Hogak or something. I think I cast one Dress Down at sorcery speed here. And just take a redraw. Sure, I'm going to say that that is also fine. Ah, beautiful. Beautiful. Dress Down goes back. Sheoldred's Edict goes back. Fetch. I'll leave the last Underground Sea in there. Grab Island. Play a 12-12. I have a bounce spell for a large creature and just a pile of threats here. My opponent is on no mana. Very nice. Stifle. Good card. Only sometimes, though. Okay. I am going to be looking for a Dreadnought, but I have a lot of looks in order to do that, and 2 counterspells to back it up once I find it. I think that means I have a plan. Uh-huh. Am I dead for being on the draw? Okay, Welder's fine. This could have been much worse. Like, we could have just gotten Blood Mooned on turn 1 and died. That's also fine. Yeah, and that is obligatory, so that has to happen. It seems a little wild to me to, like, use a pedal to just do that immediately. It feels sus. All right, let's ponder. Just immediately looking for a Dreadnought. Oh, a Dreadnought. It's Barry Saga here. And now we're kind of hoping not to have to daze. If we drag this game on for a few turns and just like daze a 2-drop, daze a 2-drop or 3-drop again after that, like it's okay. Oh, we're playing against Painter, by the way, just in case that wasn't clear. I think I let that one in play. I think that is not where I pick my fight. I think my plan is end of turn, dress down, play my Dreadnought while also like brainstorming or something. That's fine. That's also fine. None of this is worth dazing and disrupting my ability to dress down immediately. All right, no attack there. That's a-okay. So I'm not expecting game 1 Blood Moon, Magus of the Moon. I have to respect it more in post-sideboard games. I think I can disrespect it right now. Don't really want more land. Like, my ideal is to brainstorm into another Dreadnought and just put 24 power in play, and then make it so that this card is not super relevant. Okay, so I can brainstorm for 3 looks, or I can ponder for 4. I think I want to brainstorm, though. I have a lot of land in this hand. That doesn't have to be fixed this turn, though. Alright, I've convinced myself. Let's ponder. I do have one card I very specifically want to find. A new ponder. Okay, that's alright. Do I now want to brainstorm? I think so. Oh, that is so much land. Let's throw back 2 of those. Delta. Fetch. I already have an island. I could get swamp. And I don't think it matters if I get swamp. So I am just going to go ahead and do that and make my 12/12. I have double daze for if my opponent just jams a Painter. It's a little awkward. I was trying to hit harder than the Dismember in terms of like my impact on this game. Because the Dismembers aren't actually that good at stopping the combo if double Goblin Welder are actively in play. So like I think just trying to end the game is strong. But my Thoughtseize is like now awkward with double Welder in graveyard as well. So, you know, there's problems over here, basically, is what I'm getting at. I don't know, maybe keeping the Stifle for a Grindstone activation is good enough. Okay, they're just going to bring that back. Take out one of my random things. It is relevant for something like Murktide Regent. They're just immediately cycling. I can presumably Thoughtseize my opponent. That helps a lot. Let's go ahead and attack for 12. I'll cast Thoughtseize, and then I'll sculpt the remainder of my game around the information in my opponent's hand. Fury doesn't really matter. We'll just take the Fable. So let's ponder. It's really hard to say no to Force of Will here. No shuffle. Take that. Drop this. And I think pass turn. Yeah, that's fine. You can take out a ponder. My opponent could like get a new grindstone. Yeah. Alright, we just dreadnoughted our opponent out of the game. Feels good. So now what? There's some awkward things that can happen in this matchup. So if I already have a Phyrexian Dreadnought in my graveyard, my opponent can weld a Dreadnought into a Dreadnought. So that makes dumping a Dreadnought into the graveyard with Urza's Saga significantly less attractive for the purposes of making Likeness Looter into a 12/12 murder monster machine. So I think this card has got to go. My Force of Wills look pretty bad versus a pile of Pyroblasts, whereas my Hydroblasts look pretty good. I love Null Rod. Push and Edict are fine. Hydroblast is good. Force of Negation, similarly to Force of Will, is going to be awkward. And then, like, there's stuff like these as well that I can play. Hurkyl's Recall as a tempo play is pretty respectable, even if it isn't the, like, meltdown caliber, destroy it all, burn it all with fire. I think it's still okay, and I think I'll keep Daze. have some ability to interact on the stack. We're getting a lot of no-landers. I believe the amount of mana in this deck is appropriate. Odd 6, yes. I don't know which of these goes back. Maybe Hercules goes back, as weird as that is to say. Like, I know it is a highly impactful sideboard card, but it may just be that I'm not going to be ready for this, because, like, this is the, like, I have a threat in play, this is my follow-up that ends the game. We might not be ready for this card in the foreseeable future, and I just, like, keep a threat and some removal spells to back it up. And that, like, clears out a lot of the Goblin Welder type stuff. My opponent immediately plays Urza Saga to punish my decision. Say, Livy. This Urza Saga may or may not be paired with an Ancient Tomb for maximum value. It is, though. I'm going to try to take another draw. Ugh. All right. I think this gets me a basic island. I think I respect Magus. Dead? There's just no world where I win this game. Having to time walk myself twice, is there? I guess we'll find out. This is not great. And I think just like this fetching Shadow Spear ends up putting me in a pretty bad spot as far as like barely winning with 2 12-12 hits goes. Yeah, turning back the Hercules was just very bad with my opponent leading on Saga. Unsure if mistake or thing that just didn't work out. Alright, they didn't get Shadow Spear, which is cool. I redraw that Stifle. I'll pass turn. I'll see if they're going to do anything end of turn. They are not. In which case, I think I want to shut off Metalcraft. This is already hitting me for probably 4 anyway. So this is a free Dismember. The very weird price tag attached. Magus of the Moon. I need to counter that because I need this to fetch my Dreadnought. So let's attempt to take this out. Fuck you. So, I can successfully daze this since I took my opponent off of their Mox Opal mana. But if I do, I don't actually get to do the whole cool Stifle shit. Which is awkward. Alright. Alright. Hit me on Spirit Guide. Negative. Alright. I can just like draw another like island for Murktide Regent and kind of like be on my merry way towards something good, but like I know that Stifle is that next draw. So I don't want to put a Dreadnought into graveyard. I make a land drop. And I pass. Sadly. With only one other island in the deck, I do think I have to fight over the Magus. Fuck! No! 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 Brutal. I'm at 8. Fuck you, Magus. Only I'm allowed to do this. This top 10 anime betrayals right here is what this is. No. Feels bad, but I think I gotta counter that. I just think I'm dead, though, at 4 life here. Yeah, I just get whacked for 4. DED dead. We get a game 3 to try to salvage this. I'm not gonna make any changes. Alright, I have a kind of medium hand that I think I am going to keep because I can play this game on Swamp and Island, I think. I don't know that I'm going to Thoughtseize on turn 1, though. I think I want to Ponder on 1, and then I can Brainstorm Fetch on turn 2 some portion of the time. And then Thoughtseize afterwards. I just don't think I want Magus of the Moon. Ooh. Just be a total disaster, I say, as I consider just playing an Urza Saga-based game. I think I am currently looking for the Stifle or Dress Down to work with my current Urza Saga. I think I just shuffle this. Daze is pretty medium. If my opponent fires off a blast on this, they do. This feels important. I think I just dazed that. I have a lot of land in hand, and I don't quite have a plan. Fuck, the spirit guide got me. Alright. You win this round, but I have both my basics now. Since a painter can come down this turn, I will now Thoughtseize. Negative, but there is Goblin Engineer. I think I take Goblin Engineer and... No, I can't Daze Fable. I wonder if I fucked up by not just fetching. It's weird, but like seeing how this is now, like this is something that I could have foreseen. Ah, fuck. Fuck. Engineer and Fable are both important to take for different reasons. I'm gonna take the Fable, but this is my fault. I should have just fetched. It's just such a it's a weird spot. All right, they are going for the Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Can hit a removal spell for the engineer, and then everything is fine. Oops, all dazes. Alright. This game has moved forward in a way that's very awkward for me. That brainstorm was incredibly important to my plan for actively winning this game. And I think both Goblin Engineer and Phyrexian Dragon Engine are just kind of problems. I got rid of a Pyroblast, which is nice. And there aren't other scary artifacts in the graveyard right now for Engineer. But like my opponent can like weld this back into a land if they need to after they attack. And they are holding up the ability to do so. I'm at 13. Okay, there's a new land drop. I will daze pretty much no matter what this is, just for the sake of using a daze. I can't daze that. Alright. Sure. Again, not what I'm looking for. I need to draw a Stifle or Dress Down on my next turn, or I think I'm just out of this game. That might be slightly hyperbolic, but my situation is incredibly bad right now. I just have 4 dead cards in hand, unless I find something to go with the Dreadnought. And my opponent doesn't super need to cast spells here. They can just keep welding this Dragon Engine in and out of play. I'll make a token. This token ends up going away some portion of the time. Alright. I'll leave those in deck. Make a land drop. Can't attack, because this can just come in and ambush me. Life's awful. Lightning bolt my face. No. Get another island. Just fully respect Magus of the Moon. And just while I have a thing that can do stuff, I will respect that. Oh, they didn't weld the Dragon Engine back in so that it could attack. I guess that's good news. That, conveniently does terrible things to me. And now the Dragon Engine is just going to come back. Yeah. So, everything's awful, basically. I mean, I can still draw Dress Down and just put 24 power in play. That's not bad either. It's an 8/8, but that is a 3-turn clock. I'm not sure that that's going to be good enough, but it's a hell of a start. They're grindstoning themselves. No painter in yard yet. Another land. Days getting actively worse each turn. I'll block. If my opponent loses this, they don't have the 3rd artifact for Metalcraft for Mox Opal or Fury killing this, which they might have just realized because we now have a very awkward pause. All right, it's coming back. All right, it was not Fury. All right, cool. We ate that Phyrexian Dragon Engine for free. Lightning Bolt target me occurs. I am at 5. I need something. That does not qualify. I can't really attack, because if I attack, there is just lethal on board. I don't know that playing Thoughtseize makes a ton of sense either. I just have 4 dead cards in hand. Alright. That sucks. And like this is the cost of playing a situational deck, right? Like some portion of the time you are going to draw the individual pieces when you don't have the synergy required for them. Notably here, if my opponent doesn't lightning bolt my face end of turn, they can... Is that targeting Opal? Yeah. They can equip the Shadow Spear, attack with Dragon Engine, lightning bolt my Murktide Regent, and take that out that way. Just throwing that out there as a thing. Alright. Alright, I get something with Daze. I do not get something with Daze. This is horrifying, because this is just a Painter. And then a combo kill is represented in the not too distant future. Alright, need a live draw. This shouldn't work. Because my opponent has 2 active welders. They can just like weld the Painter in and out. Yeah, I believe I'm dead. And if I attack, put my opponent to 8, they swing back. They swing back with everything. Even this just messes me up. Alright. So, if I'm basically always dead to the Painter, do I try to bait my opponent into equipping the Shadow Spear on Phyrexian Dragon Engine? They swing in with everything, and then I dismember the Phyrexian Dragon Engine and win. Like, is that my best hope? Or is my best hope, like, just leaving 5 mana up and hope my opponent doesn't go for it? I think my best hope here is hope my opponent makes the literal worst possible play. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. But it doesn't feel good. Yes, yes. Oh my god, am I gonna get away with this shit? I like 100% shouldn't, right? So, this part so far has gone well. I've left Underground Sea up. Or no, I can't leave Underground Sea up, JK. So my opponent should now weld in the Painter, which they are not doing. Okay. Okay. Damn it. That's so bad. At any point, my opponent can just Painter Grindstone combo me. And I believe, I'm a little rusty, but I believe with the layers, the way it works is that the color is still going to get chosen, so I don't think this actually stops it the way that I want to. So I am going to keep playing this game in the way where I have chances to win, but I don't see the way forward anymore. Yeah, they are going for Phyrexian Dragon Engine, just... I mean, like, this is working too, but I have gotten more turns in this game than I deserve. Sheoldred's Edict. Sure. I'm gonna play all these things out. Maybe my opponent has forgotten Painter is in the graveyard. Like, it is possible they are tunnel visioning on my life total, but I don't think that's likely. Second Grindstone is fine. Okay, the Painter is coming in. All right. And there is the Grindstone activation, which will mill us out. We are dead. GG's. All right. So we have Dress Down into Dreadnought with a second Dress Down to pitch to Force of Will. This is a pretty reasonable start here. Sure. Basic Island and Delver. I think we let the Delver resolve. Don't think that is the thing that I am seeking to Force of Will this game. I think I am seeking to Force of Will a potential counterspell on my Dreadnought. And I think I am just going to end up going for an end of turn Dress Down immediately into Dreadnought. Delver blind flips to Lightning Bolt. This is fine. I think I'm going to get, I think just 2 islands. I don't think I want to swamp this game. I don't really have that many black cards that are important right now. I don't super care if this gets dazed, but like, I wouldn't daze this card if I were the opponent. Ooh, that's also not bad. So how am I using my 3 mana this turn? Probably Dreadnought around daze, Dismember around daze, and Ponder. Ponder last, I think. So let's attempt this. We got a Murktide for our trouble, which is great. Oh, wow. Another force. Okay, got it. We're going down. However, that makes this very likely to resolve. And then the board is empty. I'll cast Ponder, and we'll work towards just a Murktide Regent next turn. Another Murktide? I don't think so. Take a new card here. Force of Will is great as long as I draw a new card to pair with it. All right, cool. Given that I've already seen multiple Force of Wills hit play, like we're going in. Like we will cast this, it will be outside of range of a Lightning Bolt. It is a 6/6. And again, if I draw another blue card, the Force of Will just gets stronger and stronger. A Brazen Borrower could bounce this out of play. It's possible my opponent is still Grixis and has additional outs to this. Lightning Bolt my face. You have your own Murktide? You do. Yeah, I really wanted this to be a blue card to stop this sort of thing from happening. Alright. Well, I have the defensive Murktide Regent here. My opponent has the offensive one. I'm at 7 life. I just can't take a hit from this. That is so much selection right now. In a moment where my opponent finding a Brazen Borrower is basically game over. I think that's worth 2 of my cards, despite the fact that like my Stifle could be very strong if my next card is something like Phyrexian Dreadnought, which is not this time. Sure. So if I'm the opponent, I'm looking for Brazen Borrower, Dragon's Rage Channeler, or just more cantrips to fill the graveyard so that Murktide Regent is also another live draw. As we start seeing more card types hitting the graveyard, this card becomes more interesting. Those are just reasonable redraws. My opponent gets to know the top card of my library, but I don't really want to give up a fetch land right now. Because if I draw a Brainstorm, I don't really want this Force of Will. Because like I have 2 card sequences that I could potentially want. Alright. So I have a live Force of Will. I have a Stifle for a Dreadnought. I think my opponent is highly favored. Sure. Graveyard is getting beefy. Opponent could definitely cast another Murktide Regent to grow this first one and break parity. Sure. We're fine with this. Like, I have removal spells that I... Ooh, Likeness Looter. Yes. No shuffle. Fetch. Grab an Underground Sea. Play a Likeness Looter. And this is an attempt at a 12/12 with Force of Will backup. Or, you know, something like a Lightning Bolt. Attempt 12/12. Succeed 12/12. With Force of Will still backing this up. This keeps flying. Fuck yeah. That means I can attack. Yeah, that means I can attack. Alright, opponent's on 11. I've got Force of Will. I guess like Brazen Borrower plus Daze could punish me for this. Ooh, opponent is in Rug. Are you going to seek the beast? You are. I do not believe that I can counter this. Murktide Delver, I think, were what was just revealed. Those are good cards. And I'm really scared of Daze now. Doing it again. Yes. Lightning Bolt. Until end of turn? Until your next end step. Yep. Okay, cool. There is no Daze. Opponent goes to 9. I get bolted. Oh, okay. Dreadnought gets bolted. That's fine. And then I'm going to just Force of Will this Murktide Regent. Oh, this could have gone so much worse. All right. Force of Will. So my opponent can attack and force the trade here. And then we'll see how things shake out. Like, I leave my opponent at 3. I'm at 4. I am F6'd. So this is just like, what do you got? Like, these can scale up, but they don't fly. So it's just fully like, what is this card? That one was tight. Okay. I probably, for the most part, don't want Force of Will. My opponent is about to bring in a bunch of blasts, and I would rather just have, like, fair removal for my opponent's stuff. So Push and Edict are quite actively good. Lusterstorm trades 1 for 1 with a bunch of stuff. Hydroblast can counter Seek the Beast, so that the questing Druid can't be used. So these are all reasonable things. Plague Engineer is sometimes insane and sometimes nothing. It just depends on what part of the game I find it. I'm not sure how I feel about my Dazes, because sometimes like they catch a Murktide Regent in a way that's super, super, super important. But I don't really want to be bouncing my land. Like, I want to have a bunch of lands so that the soft permission gradually gets worse. I don't know that I get to get rid of all of them. Like, I think I end up keeping a couple Dazes or Forces unless I also do want to play the Plague Engineers. I don't know. The Plague Engineers also have text versus the Questing Druid. I just put it on whatever creature type that is. Human Druid, question mark, question mark, question mark. Sounds approximately right. This is fine. It's not any better than fine. I think if I get a third land, this is, like, totally reasonable. Sure. My opponent had fun with the old flying Dreadnought. Sure. That's very nice. That's going to help them flip that Delver. The Delver immediately flipping versus not is a really big deal. Oh, or not. I think that is the wrong use of that card. Like, you can use this on yourself and, like, stack the Delver trigger in a way that is meaningful for you. Like, if you see an instant on top, you put the Bobble trigger on bottom, flip the Delver immediately, and if you don't, you put the Bobble trigger on top so you draw and then get a fresh look with Delver. I don't want to get Wastelanded, which kind of makes me want to Ponder, and then just play this on turn 2 around a removal spell, potentially taking 3 damage to do it, but I'm just much safer versus Wasteland, which otherwise is a lights out card for me right now. Yeah. I think taking Thoughtseize here. Okay, so their Delver trigger is on top. Well, they believed in the heart of the cards and won. They've got Force of Will, which now defends this Delver from my Fatal Push, which is not the best for me. Kind of is what it is. Counterbalance is rough. Blue-black is not great at dealing with that, and I'm light on days. No, my opponent has Force of Will. But Phil, you can stifle the counterbalance trigger. I think I do this. I just need to get that Force of Will out of hand so that I can do some sort of Stifle Dreadnought play as kind of the first thing that I do. Oh god, also Murktide Regent. Fuck! Everything's bad. Force of Will's gotta go, though. So I take Force of Will. I fetch. Grab Underground Sea. And Fatal Push the Delver while I know it is safe to do so. Alright. So, my 1-drops are going to be really hard to resolve. But I can just jam a Murktide Regent. And it's not like the end of the world here. There's future green mana. I don't know how much I like this Brainstorm. Like, I think you just play a Murktide Regent and hold up Brainstorm. That just makes you better at countering the stuff that I'm going to do. So, like, my opponent presumably has put this portent on top of their library, meaning that I don't do these things this turn. But I'll just play the bigger Murktide Regent. Like, drop Urza's Saga. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just slam my Murktide. And I've got the 6/6 to your 5/5. Well, all right. I don't have anything to say about that. We will try to Murktide again later. So, if I cast this Thoughtseize, I go to 7, and then I'm immediately dead to Murktide plus Lightning Bolt. I think I'm casting it anyway. I think I need stuff in graveyard so that I can work on getting my own Murktide into play. I think my opponent has Portent. Fuck, random Meltdown on top. I think my opponent's 2 cards are Portent and Force of Will. Because otherwise you cast the Portent to set up your own counterbalance. It could be Seek the Beast instead. Meltdown means that Dreadnought isn't doing anything. Can't get this Murktide into play. I can make a 1/1. Okay. I need to do something stupid to try to get my opponent to do something bad. I'm going to make this at sorcery speed in the hopes that my opponent for some reason decides to Meltdown it. I do not believe that they should Meltdown it. But like my Dreadnought stuff is very contingent on my opponent not using. All right, so they are portenting on themselves. It seems like they've got Force of Will blue card, so like I might be in a like this is the illusion of a game situation. My opponent draws a card. So I need this for Murktide. If I think I can get that into play, which I don't really think I can. So instead I'm casting a Brainstorm, which I presume just gets automatically countered. Oh, there's a bobble on top. Cool. Dismember? Okay. We've got an alternative path forward. I'm going to put back Murktide Regent, Ponder, float mana, put a Dreadnought into my graveyard. This is purely to fuel the graveyard for my own future Murktide Regent. We know a bobble is on top. I think my opponent has Force of Will blue card. That's my read. Fuck, alright. It worked. I don't know what's in my opponent's hand. Like, I know Meltdown's one of them. I don't know. I don't know why you hold the Portent. Sure. That's fine. That's also fine. Like, I am about to just cast a big boy. That's also not bad. That makes resolving a Dreadnought significantly easier. Pyroblast is reasonable as something weird that my opponent could have that like would be different than what I have the read on. Bam. Bam. Attempt this. There's a DRC on top. I've got a 6/6 Murktide Regent. Not Pyroblast. What's going on? Okay. Sure. Dress Down's weird. Everything's weird. Dress Down kills my construct token. I know Meltdown is a thing. Going for Dreadnought immediately doesn't make a ton of sense. I'm going to do this, pass the turn. I think my opponent gets to just, like, bury me under the abilities of these cards. These are forced to attack. I can remove the Delirium ability and take 1 this turn. Turn this into a new card. Yes. Counterbalance reveals Lightning Bolt. So these cards are not live in this turn cycle. And that Lightning Bolt is some shit as well. A new Dress Down. Okay. I'll block and kill 1 of these. How the fuck am I beating that Lightning Bolt? At 3. Alright. Dead to Bolt unless Dress Down does something super funky. Not really sure what it would do. Still not. Oh no, this is just countered. Fuck. Okay, no, I can play this. This flips 2, 3, 3. Fuck. No. All right. We put up a good fight. Oh, I get another game. Hell yeah. Okay, cool. So bad at dealing with that counterbalance. I just can't take it out of play. No Boseiju, no Abrupt Decays, none of that sort of stuff. Do I need more counter spells to respect that? It's very good against my deck. But again, I don't want to play these 2-for-1 spells versus a lot of my opponent's stuff. I think we try to play around it. Ugh. No lands again. This is not ideal, but reasonable. I can take a DRC or a Delver or a Murktide out of my opponent's hand and then try to set up a mid-game Murktide Regent. I don't mind hands that can just make a bunch of land drops. But I'm already down a card. Those are good things. Meltdown's so fucking good. I think I just take the DRC though. Questing Druid. Obviously quite good though. But, you know, hopefully we can deal with that some other way. Targeting themselves so they can know what to do with their fetch land. And they don't like it. Sure. Take your card. I'll ponder. I think I'm supposed to make this ponder dazable. Stifle. Let's say no. Brainstorm is interesting. And let's take that Questing Druid. Feels to me like Questing Druid is a card you protect in this spot. Yeah, I will take your Murktide Regent of those cards that you offered me. I don't know. At the point where you're offering me a premier threat, I think you just, like, leave another good card in hand. Let me take one and deploy the other immediately. I want to just cast Seek the Beast in response to this if I do it. I think I'm going to try to Brainstorm and shuffle away the Thoughtseize, and then just jam Murktide. Yuck. I am keeping the Thoughtseize. Alright, junk that, continue to fetch Underground Seas. And I don't think my opponent's top card is going to be like a Daze. Like, I think they have Seek the Beast in hand, and like they could hit something here, but I think I'm just jamming. Yeah. 2 cards, Counterbalance, DRC. Those are good cards, but I have a 7/7 Murktide in play. So, we'll see how this goes. I assume my opponent just like plays DRC and then Counterbalance to just like use those cards well. And I just kind of hope that, oh man, they topped a card. I don't know, it might not be an answer to Murktide Regent. It could just be a 1-drop that generically counters this stuff. My opponent does not have access to green mana right now. They're at 11. I'm going to cast this card mostly to see whether or not it is just getting countered by a 1-drop. Fuck, it is Pyroblast. Damn it. And I can't ponder for an answer. Oh, that was the worst case scenario. Dress Down does not help me with this. Fuck, I'm dead to that. That was just, you know, kind of the perfects there. I think I turn this into a different card so that this thing doesn't scale up. My opponent uses Pyroblast. They just do it on my turn instead. Everything's bad. Wasteland is coming. Alright, so there's the Pyroblast on the Murktide. I guess they now filter away the Wasteland. Alright. Like, I reduce my damage a little bit as well, keep some counters off of this. I guess, like, Plague Engineer looks really hot right now. Dismember. The Counterbalance card is currently random. Let's ponder. That's a Lightning Bolt to Surveil. That's fine. It's another Counterbalance, so this is a random flip. Bobble. Alright. Murktide Regent is damn good. Let's go bam, bam, bam. No shuffle. Dismember, target you. I think paying 2 life. And then mana from there. And I still have a 3/3 on board that Murktide Regent hopefully bricks off next turn. Sure. Alright, they topped a card. Oh, that Wasteland is quite bad for me. Alright, and now they get to see the Murktide Regent that I'm drawing. Hopefully it stabilizes the board. I don't have any ability to cantrip to like protect it or pave the way or whatever. So if they have Force of Will blue card. That's the end. All right. All right. Another questing druid is really good. They can just like sorcery speed, seek the beast, do some surveilling nonsense, find a pyroblast, take Murktide out of the way. It's a Delver and a Volk. Yeah, so they can end the turn with 3 bodies on board. Seems good. In the hypothetical world, no, I can't Plague Engineer. I'm not on 3 mana because of that Wasteland. All right, so then there's the Delver. That does scale up the Druid. This attack is still forced. I have that going for me. I might be able to attack. It's like Schrodinger's attack, though. Fatal Push would be cool. See what's going on with this counterbalance. Lightning Bolt. Okay. Definitely can't attack then. I have to pass the turn. Delver flips to Lightning Bolt. And I think, dead on board, right? I don't have dazes and forces. You know, that doesn't help either. I'm gonna cast this Brainstorm, and you can Lightning Bolt me in response, and then like I can die, and that's fine. So this was a great game of Magic. 3 lands on top. All right, dead. GG's. All right. I've eaten dinner. Time to get back in the trenches and get back to recording. Opening hand's okay. I would love to naturally draw a second land here and not have to risk getting wastelanded. We might be playing against Painter again from the look of things here. So I think if my suspicion is that this is Painter, I need to Thoughtseize this turn to potentially keep a Painter plus like a Spirit Guide or something like that from coming in next turn and really messing me up. Like a Spirit Guide to stop the days. Like that would be my disaster scenario. So grab C. Let's take a little peek. There are other things this can be other than Painter. Like there are other decks like Black Saga Storm that like this would not be a crazy start from. Okay, it is 8 cast. So how am I going to beat this Shadow Spear that's coming when I don't have Wasteland is kind of the puzzle that I'm going to have to solve. I don't really know the answer to that. I'm going to take the Force of Will because I believe that all of these things backed with free counter magic is going to be too much for me. But we're kind of a removal light deck, and our slots that would normally be Wasteland in a deck that looks like this are our Urza Sagas. Also, my opponent has fucking Aether Spellbomb in their deck, which is real good against Dreadnoughts. Just throwing that out there. Oh, thank you. Thank you, almighty Dress Down. Mox Opal's about to be online for the purposes of this Emery. Well, no, it will be. My opponent can float mana in response to a Dress Down. I still might want to Dress Down with the Emery on the stack so it doesn't mill, though. Okay. Yeah, so let's use this first Dress Down to clear 2 Urza Saga tokens and stop an Emery from milling. So here's set 1. And then Ancient Tomb is going to deal a relatively large amount of damage to my opponent. So here's number 2. I think I make them search now and commit to their choice. Okay, Pyrite Spellbomb is fine. Now, I think I still do just respond with the Dress Down. My opponent needs to float a mana here. They did, so they don't get dazed. Draw my own Urza Saga. Your Emery resolves. They can still, like, recur this Spellbomb. Oh, they didn't sack it immediately. Sure. So let's lose Dress Down and then figure out what the plan from here is. These dazes aren't really good. I think I would like to try to get rid of some or all of those dazes. Let's junk both. I think I will keep a Dreadnought. I think it's just hard to make them line up well, and we'll just play Ponder with the intention of almost always shuffling. Yeah. Well, we found a Daze again. I'll make my land drop, but we're going to be looking for another, like, Dress Down, Stifle, something of that general nature. And we've got this Urza Saga to power through. Yes. That can be recurred with Emery. This is some shit. Thanks, I hate it. Yeah. Yep. Alright, just cycling the Spell Bomb, probably with the intention of playing it again. Yeah, and this is fine. But my opponent now has an engine going. I don't have a lot of removal in my deck. Haywire Might is like a massive, massive problem. I can just start trying to kill my opponent with a Murktide Regent. I think I greed for another land drop, though. That's a lot of Dreadnought. No shuffle. Now we shuffle. The Haywire Might, or sorry, the Murktide Regent plan is one that does not get disrupted by Haywire Might. So that is at least some good news. Well, it's Murktide. And this is big. In some timelines, I can potentially Murktide Regent again next turn and have my opponent on a 2-turn clock. Or my opponent can keep tapping Ancient Tomb, but like Shadow Spear is a problem slightly longer term. If I Force of Will this, I have an easier time casting Murktide Regent number 2, which I think is a major part of my plan right now. So I think I'm going to do that. Because I have 3/6 towards Murktide Regent, and can pretty reasonably cast another one, potentially growing the first. Alright, there's a Legend Rule. Okay, they're just going in on baubles. They're not maximizing the size of their constructs, which means they're going to gain less life off of Shadow Spear activation. Don't want that. So I'm looking for like a fetch land here. Yeah, that'll do. It's not going to be the world's sexiest Murktide Regent or anything, but hopefully this gets the job done. Just pay this mana and leave one extra card in the graveyard here. The Murktide Regent grows. This first one is a 9/9. So I've got Aether Spellbomb to think about. I have Shadow Spear to think about. Going to 3? Okay. Yeah, there's the Shadow Spear. You can gain 6, go to 9. This is still more than lethal in the air. So where else are we going here? You are not 14ing me this turn. You don't have Psy, because you would have played it prior to a bauble. What are you doing? Okay. That's an answer to that question. So now I can get hit for 8. Chalice is kind of whatever at this point. Like, it's very good, but I think the game is potentially decided. So it's just fully like, do I draw like a Brazen Borrower or something that can get this out of the way? And if I don't, I end up dying to these construct tokens pretty easily. Yeah, if I'm one card deeper, I can force this. I needed to force this Thoughtcast to get this other Murktide Regent in play a higher percentage of the time. I don't regret that. But I think once my opponent gains this 9, I can't win anymore. That's a shame. Alright, I like Null Rod. I like Hercules. Some amount of this fair stuff can be fine. I'm not sure I want to 2-for-1 myself with Force of Will when my opponent is so much better at drawing cards. Like, I think their forces are much better than mine. That said, force backing up these things are pretty gross. If I board out the forces, my 20 1-drops can sometimes be in an awkward spot. I don't think I want Thoughtseize. I think I need to trim some number of 1-drops, and I think that's my weakest one. This is like this. Probably a Fatal Push. I don't know, maybe I can't drop Force of Will because Chalice is so good. I mean, this just plays a turn 2 Null Rod. Twist my arm. I don't think I need a basic here. We'll just grab an Underground Sea and Ponder. It's pretty hard to say no to a Hurkyl's Recall. It's a little awkward with this, but my opponent's deck has counterspells in it. I'm going to do no shuffle, pick up the days in case my opponent has a particularly strong turn 1, but I'm really intending on just playing Null Rod with days back up on my turn. Sure. That can be significantly less good once this is around. Like, if I shut off my opponent's artifact mana, they might not be able to activate this if they don't have an Ancient Tomb. This Daze is not necessarily going to protect the Null Rod in this spot. We're still going for it. Yep, and opponent's got 2 mana, so Daze does not stop them. I've got Hurkyl's Recall for the Urza's Saga tokens a little bit later. I also just do have Dress Down. Well, they did have the Ancient Tomb as well. I like end of my opponent's turn Dress Down into play a Dreadnought. But I think I would prefer to not miss a land drop. Beautiful. I'm going to bury Dismember here, I think. We'll just draw and play Underground Sea. Oh, also, Hurkyl's Recall is target player. It's not symmetrical. It wouldn't have bounced my Null Rod anyway. So they'll make another. Then we'll see what they fish out of their deck. Hurkyl's Recall now might be better than Dress Down. Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's not actually that much better. But if I Hurkyl's now and my opponent has another counterspell, I trade for it here, and then I can like Dress Down Dreadnought on my own turn. They can potentially reuse the Mox Opal. I don't think they have the 3rd artifact for it. I'm going to go ahead and just attempt this now. It's possible it doesn't work, but it feels like if you have a counterspell, you blow it on a Hurkyl's Recall, you know? And Dreadnought is pretty damn close to a 1-turn clock, since my opponent has Ancient Tomb. Like, it's not literally a 1-turn clock, but it does make my opponent's mana just much, much, much more awkward. Another Dreadnought. Noted. Alright, opponent is at 3. Let's kind of... Oh. Yes. Put back, like, Ponder. Dismember. Play a new Dreadnought. And Stifle its trigger. I have 2 counterspells backing up 24 power. Yeah. I'm not sure if I navigated that one the best. Like, it's possible I'm supposed to just, like, take 7, end of turn, Dress Down, play that, have Hurkyl's for later. I don't think I'm going to change anything about my boarding. Basic Swamp, not what I am looking for here. We're going to go ahead and mull that. Well, the second hand has a clear plan. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to get rid of Likeness Looter, I think. All right, we are not just... Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it! Fuck. All right. I'm so punished for putting back Likeness Looter. Damn. Okay. We'll figure it out. Sure. I think we just got by Chalice. I think I'm supposed to try to live the Dress Down double Dreadnought dream. I don't know, like maybe on the draw versus Chalice dot deck. I have to keep the Likeness Looter. Oh man, that's brutal. It has so many cards now. Oh, and they're going deeper. They're also not on the like Urza's Saga start that I could punish with the Dress Down like they have been the previous couple of games. Oh, they have Patchwork Automaton in their build. Not seen that yet. I could end of my turn Dress Down to keep Emery from drawing a card in this turn cycle. But I think this has to be a removal spell for potential Urza Saga tokens a little bit later on in this game. Because I'm kind of running on fumes right now. I I can do this to keep that from getting one counter. That doesn't seem great. I'm under so much pressure now. Maybe I just have to cast spells when I can cast spells. Like, this can't even be a draw towards Force of Will. I don't have another blue card. Daze doesn't work. Ugh. So I think we are on the cast spells into Chalice of the Void plan. Make Murktide Regent into a reasonable draw. Specifically the instants and sorceries that grow Murktide Regent. I think I keep Dreadnoughts in hand. I don't know. Maybe I play one Dreadnought and put it in graveyard for Likeness Looter. But I already know that one of those is on the bottom of my library. I guess I can shuffle. You've seen my Fatal Push. That is fine. But this whole like Emery, Bauble, Kappa Cannoneer engine scales up real fast. Like, this is me at 13. I die in 2 turns. My opponent could have like Hardcast Force of Will available to them. I think I'm dead in 2 turns no matter what. Like, I can assume that my opponent is going to get artifacts every time. Okay, that's a Murktide Regent. So 1, 2, 3. I don't think the days for the extra counter is that relevant. Bam, bam. Or sorry, it's only 2. The Dress Down isn't an instant. In that case, let's pay with more mana. Get Push Ponder, then 1 land out of there. If my opponent has Force of Will, they can force this around a daze. I don't even know that they would have to force this, though. Like, this doesn't matter as much as something like a Hercules does. Yep. Okay. I think that's the end. I think that is just the point where I can't really come back anymore. Because, like, even if I Hercules and return all of this stuff that's going to kill me to my opponent's hand, those Urza Saga tokens with Ancient Tombs still just are a thing. Yeah. Elrod doesn't really do it either. I don't think I can 12 my opponent in one go. I just don't think that is realistic at all. I can't think of anything that gets me out of this. I'm at 2. Opponent gets 2 draws as well. It's relatively likely they have a counterspell available. That doesn't do it. So we're dead, and we end up putting up a 1-4 finish. So how are we feeling at the end of the league here? Honestly, not that bad. Like, when we look at the results, we're not happy with a 1-4 finish. Let me get this all back on screen here. We're not happy with the record, but I am happy with how those games of Magic progressed. Like, despite the fact that, like, I lost significantly more matchups than I won, the deck did what I designed it to do in the donor's vision, and I think with a little tuning, this could be pretty reasonable. Like, Likeness Looter got a kill. Like, it did the thing, right? I'm happy with that. Murktide Regent, I think, ended up being a better plan B than, like, the Death Shadow Reanimate Troll stuff would have been. At the very least, if you're trying to also keep Likeness Looter in the deck. I never activated this thing's looting ability, but, like, as we saw at the end of that game there, where I was sitting with, like, Dreadnought, Daze, like, there are going to be times where this is conceptually good. Urza Saga was medium. Didn't do a ton with the construct tokens. I sometimes killed my own construct tokens, but there were a couple of times where it let me set up a Dreadnought thing in a way that was meaningful. The colorless mana was a slight downside, but not enough that I was, like, actively talking about it during the league. This was a good second draft. I think this was an improvement over what I was sent. I am pretty happy with how this league went. Like, this was enjoyable games of Magic the Gathering, where we were intentionally kind of trying out a cool idea. So, like, thumbs up to this general idea. It probably needs some tuning. the better versions of this deck are probably just blue-black Death Shadow and like blue-black Scam. Like I think those decks are just going to have more polished numbers no matter what. And I don't know how smart it is to be playing Phyrexian Dreadnought in a metagame where like you are expecting these like 4 to 5 color bean decks with all sorts of white removal. You know, you want to be playing Dreadnought when people are on like red removal that just doesn't answer a 12/12. Like those are the sorts of times where busting this sort of thing out seems good. We did get got a couple of times in the league by sort of some nonsense, like the recursive Haywire Might in the last round is just like an example of like a main deck thing that happens to just deal with Dreadnought while also being tutorable. You know, we're going to have some problems with some random things like that. Wasteland Recursion for Urza's Saga, and, you know, my many Underground Seas can also be a bit of a problem here. The deck might want a 19th land. Like, you might be better off just, like, pulling a Likeness Looter for one more land. We mulliganed a decent number of 7s that did not have another land, or, like, turning this into one copy of Lorien Revealed as another thing to just start working towards Murktide Regent, I think is also reasonable. Yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts about adjusting this one. We went back and forth quite a bit in my Discord about kind of how to approach this one. Yeah, so if you end up wanting to play some Likeness Looter in your local event, you need some cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. And if you have a deck that you want to get on the channel or you want to play this deck out yourself, all that information, as always, is available in the video description. Folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!